Project SMELT. Steps on making education and learning terrific in senior high students of University of Makati. To all of our viewers today, welcome to our webinar.
In the past years, learning was a part of our lives. Getting educated means that we can learn many new and wondrous things about the aspects of our world and our surroundings. Education was practically perfect for the most part, but not until the spread of the infamous COVID-19 virus. With the globe being constantly threatened by the COVID-19 pandemic, it is not surprising that we humans lost a lot of things due to the spread of this disease. Suddenly, we had to change our way of living in order to not further spread this disease. One of the most affected systems of the spread of COVID-19 is the educational system. The global standard style of education drastically changed with only a short span of a year and has affected many lives of students. However, not only did they got affected, but also their professors and their families. Students and professors alike were forced to acclimate to other forms of education, such as online and modular classes. Of course, this came with its own pros and cons. Mainly, students were not being interacted by their classmates and teachers the same way they would be interacted in a normal face-to-face class, leading to some students not being active in their online class and not participating. In other worse conditions, the students are being stressed not only physically but also mentally due to the certain conditions that online and modular classes provide them. So, as to aid as well as to avoid these scenarios from showing up, education associations are looking for other innovative and creative ways to make education in the time of this pandemic to be more fun and exciting for students. This is what Project SMELT, or Steps in Making Education and Learning Terrific in Senior High School Students in University of Makati, is trying to achieve. To have a deeper understanding of what Project SMELT is, I am going to hand over the stage to our next speaker.
So as we know by now, distance learning has replaced the typical and traditional lecturing of face-to-face classes. This is due to the synchronous and asynchronous classes. Synchronous classes use the online platforms of Google Meet, Zoom, and other online video conferencing services. But throughout the time of implementing this setup, the performance and participation of the student has also been looking a little down. A thing to consider that may be causing this is the enjoyment and motivation of the students. Yeah, without motivation and enjoyment, without the speaker knowing if you're there or not, listening to a person discuss a topic that you're not necessarily into will result in your attention being put into something else. Factors that affect the enjoyment of being in the classroom is the engagement and immersion of actually being in one. That includes talking to your teachers and classmates, participating in class recitations without having to worry what your voice sounds through the mic, and not suddenly disconnecting in calls, and social interaction, classroom management, and internet connectivity all play a big role with the engagement of these students. As for the internet connection here in the Philippines, Globe stated that even before 2020, it took 29 out of 30 permits for them to be able to build just one cell tower. And that is said to be the primary reason why the internet in the Philippines is low. The enjoyment of students is often overlooked as it seems to be irrational to focus on, which is why there hasn't really been much difference, as most still use the traditional lecturing style used in face-to-face classes and less on using other online tools to help engage the students, which is why you should definitely look into Project SMELT, as we aim not to only improve the learning experience of the students, but also help the teachers gain the attention and participation of the students throughout the use of online classes.
We will now proceed to the significance of the study. Learning in the middle of the pandemic might be a bit exhausting and frustrating for some students. People used to go to educational institutions where they can see everyone face to face. In this study, the researchers aim to find ways on how to make the learning more fun even if the teachers and students are far from each other. This study is being conducted to benefit the students, the teachers, the parents, and the school administrators. The first one to benefit from the study are the students. The ideas presented in this study will encourage the students to strive and study harder at their respective educational levels. Through these ideas, they will feel energized and inspired again to continue walking in their paths towards their goals. The teachers will also benefit considerably from this research. They assuredly feel the half-hearted efforts of some of their students during these difficult times. It will become easier for them to teach if their students will show enthusiasm in what they are doing. This research benefits the parents of the students as well, as these parents enroll their children to carry on comes with a guarantee that a flexible study schedule can help their children achieve their career goals while balancing various responsibilities, as long as they can motivate themselves and remain on track. And finally, the school administrators. This study will serve as the foundation for implementing the new curriculum and improving the learning process for the new generation of students.
Now that you've been updated on what's currently happening to our country, especially in our education system, I'm here to tell you about things that an educator should think of before starting an online class. By answering these 3 questions, you will probably have a general idea what really went wrong in your online class and how to improve it. But before we answer the hows, let us answer the whats and the whys. The first question that you should ponder on is, what type of learner are the majority of your students? You, as a teacher, you must have a great understanding on what type of learners are in your class so that you can think of techniques that may help collect their attention and identify their niches and advantages. When you know what your students are like, you will know what they will need. Number 2 question. Why are students dissatisfied on online learning? Now, after you acknowledge the uniqueness and identify your students, now you must focus on yourself and your ways. Now, by answering these 3 questions, you may identify the elements on your class plan that is becoming too repetitive and boring. And lastly, number 3, what are the factors and techniques that makes a class generally more interesting than the rest? You're done checking yourself and your students. Now you need to see your class as a whole. Ask yourself this question, and it may help your way of teaching to become better and more effective. Now, you may be wondering, if this is the tips that we, Project SMELT, are giving out, then it is still just the start. These are merely guides that we use to help create the perfect steps in making online learning perfect. And if you want to find techniques by yourself, then start by answering these 3 questions. Thank you.
People experience a range of negative emotions when attending synchronous classes. One may be bored and uninterested, resulting in their low performance in class. And one may be anxious and concerned because of how intimidating and costly an electronic-based learning system can be. This is all true though. Facts only. Therefore, we, the heads of Operation SMELT, have thought of different ways to make education more interesting and fun amidst this pandemic. First off, students are deprived of social interaction because of the isolation that the pandemic has brought upon them.
So that is why we are suggesting that teachers and educators should build a more interactive and variant learning platforms for the students. Various platforms like Quizzes and Kahoot offer this kind of interactivity and can be partnered up with by communication websites and programs such as Google Meet, Zoom, Skype, Discord, and many more. Students can bond with each other even at the comfort of their homes.
In this way, the educator can dispel any boredom and loneliness that a student may have during that time and avert their attention to the lesson proper itself rather than distractions surrounding them. On the other hand, teachers should also use visually appealing elements in their lesson, as the current generation of students that are unfortunately experiencing this home quarantine are highly visual learners, meaning that they can learn more through representing ideas with pictures and objects. Therefore, teachers should use graphic designs platform that offer services regarding presentations and visual aids in making presentations and videos. Best example of this are Canva, Powtoon, PictoCharts, and many more.
Visual learning is a much better strategy. You ask why? Because the reason for that is based on our research. 20% of the population tend to learn text-based and 37% are visual learners. So with that being said, majority of the population perceive that visual learning is better than text-based learning. Some problems students face can be festering internally rather than externally. So with this, students should try and convince themselves to the importance of still striving and focusing academics, even if it's just in the monitor screen. Students should know what is important. They should remind themselves that they should study not for compliance, but for wisdom and success. Education has been even needed even at this time. For the matter of fact, education has been even more important right now, as this is a great time to be more productive instead of wasting excessive days and months of free hours.
Studying can be quite hard, and it has become even harder since this pandemic has started. But that does not mean that you should set a hold to any goals you have in your mind. In fact, you should strive even harder for wisdom, knowledge, and excellence during this time of need. You have all the time in the world because of this pandemic. Look at everything on the bright side, including our situation today. See this as an opportunity to make something good out of yourself and for others. See this as a chance to further improve or explore yourself and your abilities. Respark any interest you have that wilted down because of years of work stress. Education does not stop in school. Education can be found in your home, in public, in your phone, laptop, computer, television, and many more. You just have to seek it and want it. And if you feel that online classes isn't for you, or if it's too draining and makes you stressed and depressed all the time, then follow Project SMELT's guide in making it much more manageable and interesting. Motivate yourself by thinking positively about every session you have in online classes, because in the end, you'll still gain something from it even if it's only found in a virtual screen. And don't stop there. Help us in improving this project so that the millions of Filipinos who are struggling in this new mode of learning can see this and help themselves too. Help us research these things so that we can have a clearer and more precise perspective of students' lives today. Thank you.